Hi there, smart drivers, talking to you tonight about driving examiners, the gatekeepers that work at the DOT. These are the people that are going to decide whether you pass your driving test or not. They're going to decide whether you pass or fail. And if you get the right instruction, more than 90% of the time you're going to pass your driving test the first time. And that's what we do here at Smart Drive Test. We help you pass your driver's test, prepare for your driver's test, and pass your driver's test, I should say. Become a safer, smarter driver, or start a career as a truck or bus driver. Lots of people here. EL is here. Darnell is here. Matt is here. Mallory is here. Toxic Collins, Cecilia, and Xander. Hello, everyone. Corey is here. Corey is Bricks for Wheels. He is the moderator. And just bear with me one sec here. I forgot to turn one of my microphones on. So if you have any questions, Xander's tuning in from Wisconsin. There we go. Perfect. All right. Sorry about that. Kim is here. Xander's here. Happy Victoria long weekend for us here in Canada. Next weekend it is Memorial Day for those of you in the States. Sean is tuning in from Minnesota. If you're just tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from and what class of license you're going for, and whether we can help you out with getting that license. Toxic Colin is tuning in from Toronto. My friend Mallory is here from the Maritimes. Lucas, hello from Vernon. Hello, Lucas, here in my hometown. And Mary is tuning in from Ontario. Hello, hello. And Darnell's got a couple of questions there, and we'll definitely get to those and help you out to pass your driver's test and have the right information, because that's what you want. You want the right information to be successful on passing your driver's test. And as well, we're coming into the busiest time of the year. June, not so much June, but June, July, and August, early part of September. Very, very busy times of the year because lots of people are out of school and, of course, going to get their driver's license, which is really awesome. The unfortunate part right now is the cost of fuel. And speaking about the cost of fuel, next week, that's what I'm going to do for the live stream, is talk about how to get better fuel economy with your vehicle. And no, we're not going to tell you to have proper air pressure in your tires. Grant Cardone, who is one of the leading financial advisors in the world, says you're not going to save any money by putting a bit of air in your tires. And I tend to agree with him on that. And I mean, the other piece of that is most newer vehicles all have tire monitoring gauges on them, so you know whether your tires are low or those or whatnot. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about other ways, and we're going to talk about how that ties into defensive driving and how that ties into space management. Because believe it or not, the pedal in your vehicle that uses the most amount of fuel isn't the throttle, isn't the accelerator. It's in fact the brake. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to reveal those secrets for next week, and we're going to give you some tips and strategies to get better fuel economy. All right, transitioning over here. Toxic Colin, thank you. I've been getting 18 miles per gallon out of my small economy car. Ooh, Toxic, that is terrible. 18 miles to the gallon. Yeah, we're going to have to help you with that. Or you might need to go in and get it checked and see what's wrong with it. Cecilia, I hope I pass my drive test this time. My road test is next month. It'll be the 4th time going for my novice. Cecilia, what has been the feedback that you've gotten thus far about your driving and the reason you haven't passed your driver's test? Just leave me there in that comments and we'll help you out. Ruben, good luck to those who are getting their license, and be careful of those drivers. They'll get very impatient. Yes, unfortunately, there are impatient drivers. I am guilty of such a thing. Just 2 days ago, I was driving and somebody stopped at the roundabout when they didn't have to, which drives me crazy because that's the purpose of roundabouts, is that you don't have to stop. You simply yield to traffic in the roundabout and go if there isn't any traffic in the roundabout. And then the same person that stopped going into the roundabout stopped for 2 bicycles that were clearly in the bicycle lane and slowed down behind them. And it was like, you are being completely unpredictable. And it kind of drove me a little bit nuts there. So that's what happened when I was driving. And of course, we all have that when we're driving, when we're, saying something bad about other drivers on the roadway and whatnot. So we're all guilty. Nina, hi from Pittsburgh. Hello, my friend Asma. Hello, everyone. Okay, without further ado, let's get over to the PowerPoint presentation. That'll take about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back at the end of that, and we'll answer all of your questions about passing a driver's test, becoming a safer, smarter driver, or starting a career as a truck or bus driver. And as well, right now, the Pass Your Driver's Test First Time Course Package is on sale over the Smart Drive Test website. Use the coupon SMART30 and you'll get 30% off that course package. So check that out over at the Smart Drive Test website as well. All right, Cecilia, it's the left turns I need to work on and the parallel parking. Okay, so that's excellent, Cecilia, that you've got something that you can work on and know exactly what you need to do. And believe it or not, Cecilia, your improvement of your parallel parking will improve your overall driving and will definitely improve your left-hand turns as well. So work on that, focus on that. My friend Goose is here from Nickel City Driving. He's a driving examiner in Northern Ontario. He likes to think it's Northern Ontario, but it's just Sudbury, so it's not very far north. But that's where he is. And good evening, my friend. Tyler, bribe the examiner, sit at a coffee shop for half an hour. You're good. Just kidding. Yeah, you can't bribe the driving examiner. Most of the time it doesn't work, Tyler, unfortunately. All right, here we go. Driving examiners, their job, what's their job and what is your job? Let's talk about that because you have to know what your job is to be successful on your driver's test and to get past the gatekeepers. For those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver in the 1990s, hauling freight between Ontario, Canada, and the United States, mostly east of the Mississippi, New England. Went to Florida, Texas, those types of places. I did make it out to the west a few times, and I've been to almost all lower 48 states in the U.S. A couple I haven't been to. I haven't been to New Mexico or Utah yet, but I would definitely love to get to those states. Became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997 in a bid to come off the road. Most of my instruction has been with commercial drivers, air brakes, those types of things, buses and trucks, but I have done driver rehabilitation. We're getting people back to driving after they experience a debilitating injury or loss of limb, teaching them how to drive with hand controls and whatnot. 2006, I graduated from the University of Melbourne in Australia with my doctorate in legal history, study of policing, courts, and prisons, and as some of you may or may not know, my expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic. While I was going to university, drove buses for Greyhound and one of the regional bus lines. The Aussies like to say that they founded Greyhound. I never did fact check that, so if anybody knows, any smart drivers know that where Greyhound was founded, maybe you can confirm that information for me. And I started the online business, the YouTube channel in 2015, and it's been wildly more successful than I could have ever imagined. And if you want to know more about me and the business, you can check the autobiography out over at the Smart Drive Test website. New video this week, critical driving basics. I was talking about every other thing that we learn in our world. Take, for example, music or martial arts. Both of those have basics that we need to do to learn and to build on for advanced skills. Driving is not one of those things that we have basic skills for. But slow speed maneuvers, working in parking lots, and as I said to Cecilia there earlier about parallel parking is one of the fundamental skills of driving. And if you can work on these fundamental skills and you can improve and have proficiency at these fundamental skills, you will be a better driver overall. So focus on the fundamentals, focus on the basics when you're learning how to drive, and you will be a safer, smarter driver faster as well. Your overall driving is going to improve if you focus on these fundamentals. So the job of the driving examiner is to assess your ability to have due care and control of the vehicle in changing traffic conditions. That is their job, to assess you. They are the gatekeepers and they are going to do their job. Your job in response to the driving examiner is to take away their right to fail you. Nothing less, nothing more. That's all you have to do. You are not going to go for perfection. You are going for a pass when you go to take your driver's test. You have the rest of your driving career to work on perfection. So know that for the purposes of getting your driver's license. All right, first impressions. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression, so know that. Okay, wash your car, especially in these days of post-COVID. They don't want to get into a dirty car that's up to the ankles in fast food wrappers and the footwells and those types of things. So make sure that you clean your car, give it a vacuum. Most wash facilities have free vacuums, so go down, give it a vacuum, wipe the dash off, those types of things. Do a pre-trip inspection, make sure that you take a shower, put on clean clothes and those types of things. Make sure you put on your deodorant and whatnot. And we're not going to say anything about makeup because we had a smart driver here some time ago who took umbrage when we said makeup. And yes, there are lots of people who don't, and there are lots of people who do, both men and women. So we'll leave it at that. Myths about driving examiners, and this is one that kind of gets me going, is that you can't wear sunglasses on a driving test. That is false. If you need sunglasses to drive, then wear sunglasses during your driving test. I personally am very photosensitive on sunny days, and I could not drive a vehicle comfortably or safely without sunglasses, so wear sunglasses. The reason for this myth is they're saying that driving examiners are looking for your eyes to be moving. And Corey will put up the video on seeing and observing when you're driving. You cannot observe correctly in the vehicle without moving your head. Okay? You have to move your head. Your head has to be on a swivel when you're driving. Okay? So if they're looking for your eyes moving, you're not observing correctly because you need to move your head. So wear sunglasses. Okay, don't engage in conversation. That's not true. I would counsel you not to engage in conversation at the beginning of your test, but if the test is going along well and you're comfortable, you're pretty sure the examiner is going to pass you, you're doing well on the test, and they start to talk to you, then yes, you can talk to the examiner, okay? Examiners work to fail you. That is not true because they have managers, they have supervisors that they have to answer to, so they are not working to failure. Examiners have a number of people that they have to fail. They have a quota, which is not true either, because if they're failing 75% of those types of things, there's no benefit to them for failing a certain number of students. Okay, I have to speak English perfectly. If you are an immigrant to Canada or to the United States, no, you do not have to speak English perfectly. And examiners are unfair. No, they have their bad days just like everybody else. And unfortunately, every now and again, they will yell at you or give you misinformation, and that's unfortunate. But they are not unfair. For the most part, they are fair. And if you get the right instruction, the correct instruction, with a driving instructor, and I tell you, if you're not taking driving lessons with a driving instructor, go and book at least one lesson with a driving instructor so that you can be guaranteed that you're going to pass your driver's test first time. Okay, pre-trip inspection, make sure that you do a pre-trip inspection, and you can get the pre-trip inspection list over at the Smart Drive Test website. Most common mistakes, and I would say that the number one most common mistake during a driving test is failing to shoulder check. You need to shoulder check minimum 2 times every time you change direction of the vehicle or change lanes, reverse, those types of things. Okay, automatic fails on a driver's test. These are less common. It's rare that students fail outright on a driver's test. Most drivers, and Goose can confirm this or deny this, or correct me if I'm not right on this, and Tim as well. Tim is here from Drive Smart BC. Most drivers demerit out. They get too many errors on their driving exam and they fail their driver's test because of too many demerits. Fewer drivers fail automatically. That's usually not the reason that they fail the driver's test. They fail because they get too many demerits assigned. Failing to adhere to road signs, okay? You're not adjusting your speed according to speed signs, lanes ends. You're not merging over to the other lane and those types of things. You're not coming to complete stops at stop signs. School speed zones, you're speeding in a school speed zone. That is an automatic fail on a driver's test. And we had the question at the beginning here about, are school speed zones in effect when school isn't in session? No, they're not in effect when school is not in session. So during the summer, on weekends, in the evenings, and PD days, the school speed zones are not in effect when school is not in session, okay? Road markings work in concert with traffic signs, so know that for the purposes of your driver's test as well. Slow speed maneuvers, parallel parking, backing into a parking space, and 3-point turns. This is 1/8 of the driver's test, but it is the 1/8 of the driver's test that gives drivers the most grief. Focus on practicing your slow speed maneuvers, your parallel parking, your backing into a parking space, and your 3-point turn, and all of your driving will improve. I know that drivers don't do it. I know that driving examiners don't work with students doing it because it's not sexy. Not sexy. Not sexy at all. It's very boring. And it's even more boring for a driving examiner, or a driving instructor rather, to watch a student do this. This is one of the reasons that they don't do it. So make sure that you practice it on your own. I guarantee you 120% that you will become an overall better driver by focusing on your slow speed maneuvers. So 20% in, 80% out for slow speed maneuvers. Lane positioning, moving to the right after turning left. And I also had a question at the beginning. If you make wide left turns, will you fail your driver's test outright? If you touch the line when you're going around a left-hand turn of the other lane, you're going to lose 10 points. If you move into the other lane, yes, it's up to the discretion of the examiner. You could potentially fail your driver's test outright because it's a dangerous action. You are drifting into the other lane, which is something that you shouldn't be doing because you're being unpredictable and therefore you're being dangerous when you're driving. Okay, merging, lane changes. This gives new drivers grief. It's a bit challenging at the beginning. It's a little bit like a hockey stop. Okay, you just got to do it. Okay? Again, it comes back to the right instruction. Moving the vehicle laterally, communicating with other traffic, all of these skills you need to demonstrate to a driving examiner. Assessing competency. The score of demerit points, as I said, on most driving tests, you're allowed 30 demerit points before you fail the driver's test. Okay? Pass, fail, and most DOTs, most test centers, the examiner will give you a feedback at the end of your test. In the city of New York and other places, they are beginning to not give you feedback. Rather, the examiner just gets out of the car. You have to go home, log into their website after 6 p.m., and you will find out whether you passed or failed. I think this is very unfortunate for new drivers that they're not getting this feedback from driving examiners about things that they could improve for their driving. But it's just a matter of course that unfortunately a number of testing drivers are abusing examiners at the end and threatening violence, and now they have to do this as a safeguard for driving examiners. So good luck in your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. I'll get back over here. Hello. Goose says, miss second point, don't engage in conversation. I advise my students to let the examiner engage in conversation first, otherwise stay quiet. Is that okay? Yes, Goose, I concur with that. And when I was talking with Sam and we were doing the videos there in the Bronx in New York City, he said the same thing. So all three of us are saying the same thing. So excellent. Yes, we all agree. My friend Tim, Drive Smart BC, if you're in the province of British Columbia, want to know anything about traffic safety, road engineering, legal cases, policing, definitely check out Tim's website. He has an excellent forum there as well that you can engage in conversation with other professionals. So Tim, Drive Smart BC, and Corey will put the link up for us there. BC, if it is a school day of instruction in the school calendar, school zones apply. I think you will find PD days show up as days of instruction. Okay, that's a correction there on my part. So perhaps on PD days, school zones will apply. However, I haven't heard that up to this juncture. So I'll put that on the list of things that I need to look up just to clarify that. Tim, also beware that the school calendar is set by the district, not the province now. Days of instruction may not always be the same. Safest to follow the signs on weekdays during the school year. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Tim, for that information. Chantel, I passed my G2 road test on Wednesday on the 18th. Your videos are very helpful. That is awesome. Congratulations, Chantel, and all the best in your driving. Where did you go to celebrate? What'd you do there? Goose, too many mistakes versus automatic fails here in Sudbury. Minor mistakes are 2 demerits. Major mistakes are 4. After making the same mistake 4 times, points are doubled. Lots of people fail because of something illegal. Tyler, my examiner, and I talked the whole time and passed. Only one serious fault, but still passed. The guy was chill. Awesome. And I like to hear that when driving examiners are doing a excellent job and certainly need to be congratulated and thanks for the work that they do. Brian Jones, shoulder checking. In other words, drivers must be aware of their surroundings, and that is absolutely correct, Brian. As I said, your job is to demonstrate to the examiner that you have due care and control of the vehicle in changing traffic conditions. And one of the shorts that I just did here a day or two ago was about traffic crashes. Traffic crashes can happen at any time, and during your driver's test, you may have to drive through a crash site. There may or may not be emergency crews who are directing traffic through the crash site. In this one that I caught on dash cam, emergency crews were there, firefighters and police officers, but nobody was directing traffic through the crash site. So you kind of had to work your way through the crash site, and there was still debris on the road, and you didn't want to drive over debris when you were working through the crash site. So know that this is one of the unexpected events that you could deal with on your driver's test. And Corey will put up the video on unexpected events that could happen on your driver's test. So you have to be able to deal with that on your driver's test, and know that if there are police or firefighters or they've brought in flaggers to direct traffic through the crash site, that you need to obey the directions of these people, because they all have the same authority and legal stance as police officers. So know that for the purposes of moving through a crash site. Charles, can a person who has type 2 diabetes be allowed to take the road test or driving lessons? Charles, I would need to look that up, and I know that you sent me this information before, and I apologize. It's been crazy busy the last couple of weeks, so sorry about that. And Goose, thank you for the PowerPoint slides presentation there. That's awesome. Corey, I am 98% that in Manitoba school zones are in effect all through the week, unless it is the summertime. PD days don't affect it. Okay, this is something that we're going to need to look up in the Highway Traffic Acts on each individual state and province. Lots of fun just to figure out whether we can get that information correct or not. Brar, any tip for G road test? Thanks. Yes, we can give you some tips on that. We'll just answer a few more questions here, and then we'll come back to that for you. Lima, good night, Rick. Been watching your videos since last year and always remember points you make while I'm driving. Thanks a lot. Lima, you are most welcome, my friend. So happy that we could help out. Awesome, awesome. Asma, please give us steps of 3-point turns. Thank you. Mohammed, I'll do better than that. Corey will put the video up for you, and that will help you out rather than me trying to explain it here, because it's a little bit hard to explain it without a video. But essentially what you're doing is you're on a road that's too narrow to make a U-turn. So what you're doing is you're going across the road, backing up, and then going in the other direction. That's essentially all you're doing, is turning around to go back in the direction from which you came. But the road's too narrow to do a U-turn with your vehicle, so you're doing it in 3 steps. Forward, reverse, and then forward again. So that's why it's called a 3-point turn. And the video will give you a complete explanation for the steps that you need to do. And again, another point for your driver's test and another point for the 3-point turn. Somebody asked me last week, and I didn't get back to this comment yet because, as I said, it's been very busy on this side of the computer, that you need to, when you approach the curb, you want to straighten the wheels out. And they asked me, well, why can't you just turn hard and then turn hard? The steering wheel from complete right to complete left goes 3 full revolutions. So it's just a little bit easier as you're approaching the curb that you bring the wheels back to straight. You're doing 1.5, and then when you back up, you only got to go 1.5 for full turn again, instead of like crazy 3 turns. Okay, so that's the reason that we ask you to straighten out the wheels as you're approaching. And Mallory, Greyhound buses were founded in 1914 in Minnesota. Mallory, did you find that on Wikipedia? Because I'm a little suspect of Wikipedia. But anyway, so it says 1914 in Minnesota, but we'll go with that for right now. Okay. Lucas, hey, I'm 17 years old and I am taking my road test in 3 weeks. I need advice for reverse stall parking and lane positioning, please. Anything helps. Thank you. Lucas, backing into a parking space. If you can back in beside another car, that's going to be a lot easier for you because you have a landmark off which to park. Okay, if you just are trying to get into a parking space with lines on the road, are lines on the pavement rather, it's a lot harder, and you got to have a bit more experience with that. The other trick that you can do when you're backing up is to just pause and look forward, and that way you can tell whether your vehicle is straight or not. But of course, you want to be looking out the back window when you're parking. And the other piece is that when you set up to back into the space, if you can pull in front and then angle out, it's easier to back into the space. And then the last point of backing into a parking space is always try and back in on the driver's side. So if the car is here, back in on the driver's side. Don't back in on the passenger side. It's too hard to back in because your sight's all messed up. You're in your blind areas and those types of things. So back in on the driver's side, and you're going to find it a lot easier to back into the parking space. When I'm driving test, can I wait for green light to turn right instead of when the light is red? Okay, so turning right on a red light is what's being asked there, and turning right on a red light. If it's busy, yes, you can wait for the green light. If there's lots of pedestrians and traffic, then you can wait for the green light. But if it's not busy, then right on a red light, then you do have to turn for the purposes of your driver's test. Know that, okay? Mallory says she asked my Google Mini that question. Thank you, Mallory, for being my Google jockey. That's awesome. Joe, what's dry steering? Ever heard that expression before? Joe, I thought you were like my vintage. Because dry steering is from my vintage. Dry steering is old bias ply tires. Back in the days of Armstrong steering, when, you know, it was like so hard to turn the steering wheel. Basically, dry steering is that the vehicle's not moving when you're turning the steering. And it's, they claim, well, they used to claim, it was hard on tires, that you were dry steering. And that's what that means. Dry steering. It just means that the vehicle's not moving when you're turning the steering wheels. So there you go. That's what dry steering is. So everybody now knows what dry steering is. And because now in the days of radial tires, good quality tires, and power steering, people do it all the time. So there you go. Mallory, when you're driving through a toll booth, please be patient. Yes, because you don't want to crash. Okay. John, hello, my friend. How are you? Rick, how many months should I practice before I take my driving test? Jim, I usually recommend, if you're working towards your on-road test, that you practice kind of 6 to 8 weeks. If you can get consistently good practice 2 or 3 times a week, then you should be ready for your driver's test. The other piece that I give counsel for drivers, if you're not taking driving lessons, which some people don't, is to take at least one driving lesson with a driving instructor before you go down for your driving test, because they will give you feedback on your driving, the skills and abilities that you may need to improve for the purposes of passing your driver's test. And believe it or not, driving instructors will take you on the driving test route. They will take you to the same place where driving examiners are going to get you to do the 3-point turn. They're going to get you to do parallel parking and whatnot. And never go into a driving center, a driving test center, the DOT center, during the day, during business hours. But on weekends and after hours, you can go into the DOT center and you can practice backing into the parking spaces, because different parking spaces are going to be a little bit different in different places. So be sure that you do that. The other counsel that I give you is make sure you practice in and around the test center at the time when your test is going to happen. So if your test is going to happen at 10 o'clock on a Thursday, make sure that you're practicing in and around the test center at 10 o'clock in the morning during the weekdays, so that you can simulate that traffic. Again, if your test is at 4 o'clock in the afternoon during rush hour, now obviously examiners are going to try and keep you off the busy congested roads, but you do want to go to the test center and you do want to practice at the time of your test. All right. Chantel, I cannot wait until your podcast comes out. Chantel, I'm very excited too. We're getting a few kind of in the hopper there so that we can get going. But 3rd of June, yes, the podcast is going to be launched like next week, in 10 days. That's crazy. And as well, as I said, there is a book coming out, Driving Test Secrets, that is currently with the editor right now, being edited. So that's another thing that's going to come out. I'm hoping to get it out by July, mid-July. That's very ambitious, I know, but we're hoping to get it out by then so that it's available in electronic version, and we can get more information to you and help you pass your driver's test and whatnot. So lots going on. Lee, I've tried getting private drive time with a professional, but they are saying it's too busy right now. Yeah, they are busy, Lee. It's very busy. And that's the other point, and that's an excellent point that you just made, is that, you know, if you do want to take 1 or 2 lessons with a driving instructor, you need to book this out a few weeks, kind of 4 to 6 weeks right now, because of the backlog due to the COVID. And I mean, a lot of students did postpone getting their test, and now summer's coming on. You know, there's lots of backlog at the DMVs and the test centers and whatnot, so that's what we're dealing with right now. DC, Rick, it's been a nightmare driving today. We got hit with this storm, and here's traffic lights falling and power lines all over the roads and trees ripped in half. Never seen anything like this. Yes, so you're definitely, DC, you are definitely in Ontario with the thunderstorms rolling through there. I miss thunderstorms. I very much miss thunderstorms because we don't get thunderstorms here in British Columbia. And I miss them. I love it when the thunder just rolls through the house and the whole house just shakes and vibrates. It's weird the things you miss. Goose says, I want a signed copy of your book. We can do that, my friend, for sure. It's going to be an electronic book. It's going to be an ebook. It's going to be very interactive because it's not one of those books that you read cover to cover. It's a little bit like the driver's handbook, but we'll have I'll get you a signature and put it on the book for you. Okay. Lucas, would examiners judge you throughout the test with some sort of bias based on the car you're taking your test in, everything working and stuff, but just being fast and bringing attention, can that affect? All right. So, Lucas, I'm not going to lie to you. Yes, driving examiners, like everybody else, they have their biases. And we had a driving examiner here in Vernon that was ex-military. And you know, truck drivers are not always, you know, clean cut, you know, with a, what is that called? A crew cut. That's what it's called. You know, they're tatted up and they've got piercings and those types of things. And I always knew that when these guys come in to do their driver's test, and this one driving examiner came out who was ex-military, we'll just call him ex-military, I knew that they were going to have a bit of a rough time because I could just see the look on his face when he come out and they're all tatted up and tattoos and piercings, and I was like, oh yeah, just make sure you get the first 10 minutes really good there, because then he'll kind of, you know, loosen up a little bit. But, you know, you could always kind of see him bristle when he approached the truck and the student was standing there. So, you know, they have their little biases and their little quirks. And so we had another driving examiner. He was a Brit and an immigrant here. And his bias was that, you know, it depended on what day of the week it was, what his bias was. But the ex-military guy, his thing was lines. If you bounced off a line, you were going to get points for that. And then we had another driving examiner who his thing was solid white lines. If you crossed a solid white line, that was a big deal for him. That was almost a fail for him. So, and on that note of, you know, biases with driving examiners and whatnot, they do have discretion in whether you pass or fail your driver's test. And we're not going to deny that. It's not cut and dry. Driving is not a black and white thing. It's not a paint by numbers thing. We know that. And so if you are driving exceptionally well for the first 3/4 of your driver's test, and then you do something goofy like plow into a roundabout, the driving examiner may sort of say, I didn't really see that. Because they know that you are driving well. You have demonstrated beyond question that you have due care and control of the vehicle. Whereas if you go out of the parking lot and you slam on the brakes because somebody stepped out in front of you on a sidewalk, and then you get flustered and you drop one of the wheels over the curb, and you do this within the first 2 minutes of the driving test, it's not likely that the rest of the driving test is going to go well for you, just because of that kind of initial, you know, faux pas. So that's, you know, that's the reality of driving examiners. I mean, they have discretion in what they do. And same thing, you know, you may have driven really well for most of the driving test, and then you couldn't parallel park. You couldn't get it in. You know, you just kept banging on the curb, and you just, for whatever reason, and then they'll just say, oh yeah, forget it, it's okay. You know, so that stuff happens. I'm not saying it happens very often, but it does happen. Okay, so know that. My friend Sam is here. How are you, Sam? Joe, Rick, if you'd been here in South Central Ontario midday yesterday, I don't know if you'd have loved the thunderstorms that hit us then. Vicious winds, and I don't mean maybe. Yeah, no, I heard that there was some deaths there in Ontario, so they were pretty severe. Excuse me, bordering on tornadoes, actually. Reese, what is the most common thing that students get dinged on during a road test? Like most common one of all mistakes? Reese, that is shoulder checking. Shoulder check, shoulder check, shoulder check. 90 degrees in the direction that you're moving the vehicle. So you want your head on a swivel. You want to be looking, okay? That's the number one thing that you're going to get dinged for on a video. Do I have any videos to teach us how to buy and check used cars? I really like your video tutorials. Yes, I do. Corey will put that playlist up for you on buying vehicles. And I'll just talk about buying used vehicles, secondhand vehicles. Every vehicle has a story. All right? And if you go to a dealership, they're going to have all of the paperwork for the vehicle. They're going to have the maintenance records. They're going to have whether the vehicle got into a crash or those types of things. Minor crashes. Let's talk about minor crashes in used vehicles. If it has one minor crash, then yes, consider that. If the vehicle has 2 or 3 or 4 minor crashes, walk away from it. And I'll just back up here one step. If you want a blue car, buy a blue car. If you want a Honda Fit, don't buy a Toyota Corolla or something else, okay? Buy the car you want. There are so many cars out there. Well, maybe not right now, but there are, okay? There's a lot of cars out there. So buy the one you want. So if the car has minor crashes, if it has more than one minor crash, then walk away from the car. If the vehicle has bald tires, for example, that's a fixed cost. That's a cost that you know how much it's going to cost you to replace the tires in the vehicle. It's going to cost you $1,000. So you can negotiate the price of the vehicle if you find out the tires are bald. I looked at a Honda Civic here a few years back, and did a pre-trip inspection on it. Make sure that you do a complete pre-trip inspection and look at that pre-trip inspection list for going down for your driver's test. Complete pre-trip inspection, the reverse lights didn't work. Now the reverse lights could be something as simple as a fuse, or it could be something more complicated where it's a short in one of the wires, which could be almost impossible to find. If it's a short in the wire, that's not a fixed cost. That's not a known cost. So I would suggest to you that if you want the car, then you either say to the dealership or you say to the person who's selling the car that they need to get the reverse lights fixed before you consider purchasing it. All right. The other piece about buying a secondhand vehicle is if you are seriously interested in it, but you want to absolutely make sure that the car is good and want to know whether you need to do the brakes or those types of things, take it to an independent automotive technician and get them to do a inspection of the vehicle. It'll cost you about $120, and they will give you a complete list of everything that's wrong with that vehicle before you purchase it. All right. The other piece about the Civic, the Honda Civic that I was talking about, was that the gear selector was worn on the vehicle. Now that may not seem like a big thing to you, but one of the places in a manual transmission that you do not rest your hand is on the gear stick, okay? Because it just prematurely wears the gears in the transmission and all the bushings in the gear stick and all those types of things. It's not a hand rest when you're going up and down the road. So if it's worn, there's probably some problems in the transmission and those types of things. So know that, okay? The other piece is pull the seats down, look under the mats in the car. If there's a lot of junk and a lot of rust under there, then you probably don't want to buy that vehicle as well, okay? And you want to look at the service records. Has the vehicle been maintained? Has it been well looked after? These are all questions that you want to ask when you're inspecting the vehicle. If you don't know anything about cars, take somebody with you who does know something about cars and can give you some feedback about that vehicle when you're going to purchase it. All right. Mallory, my mom and I were talking about today about people who drive and can be on their phones at the same time. Yeah, they can do that, but they're not very good at driving or being on their phone for that matter, because you can't really do both at the same time. My friend Epic, how are you? For those looking at a motorcycle or car road test, should you take a road test review service than the actual test itself? On their websites, they also list the common road test mistakes and faults. Okay. I do, Epic, if you can take a driving lesson with a driving school in preparation for your road test, we do recommend that you do that. Okay. But as Lee said, it's busy right now with driving schools, so you need to book 6 to 8 weeks out to get that lesson. Otherwise, it's going to be really tough to get a lesson with a professional driving instructor. Lee, just put your phone away when driving unless you're using GPS, which you don't need for a test. Absolutely. Buify, how are you, my friend? Tyler, I got a complaint from the examiner for too much shoulder checking. Better too much shoulder checking than not enough, Tyler, my friend. W, Rick, for my driving test in the state of Illinois, they essentially had me drive for 7 minutes. Didn't have to park at all. Is it fair to say some states' tests are too easy? I'm in Illinois. Amir, yes, some states are too easy. I would agree with that. And the province of Ontario, Canada is another place that has happened. For the full G license, they have eliminated doing slow speed maneuvers. When, in my opinion, if they want to test drivers and want to know whether they're good drivers, you get them to do just the slow speed maneuvers, because any person can get in a car and point it straight down the road. That's easy, okay? Doing slow speed maneuvers, on the other hand, is not easy, but your demonstration of being able to do slow speed maneuvers well is what's going to make you a safer, smarter driver overall, okay? Baby, I keep failing the cones on my driving test. Please, I'm from Cleveland. Okay, so baby, Ohio maneuverability test. Corey will put that video up for you. What you need to do is you need to stay tight to the driver's side. The passenger side will look after itself. So there's a couple of criteria for the Ohio maneuverability test. Driving through is fairly straightforward, pardon the pun. Drive and then left or right, depending on what the examiner tells you to do. When you reverse, you have to go slow. You need to do it in one motion, and you need to stay tight to the driver's side. That's going to make it easier for you because the passenger side will look after itself. And this is more or less true for most of your driving maneuvers, your slow speed maneuvers for driving. Stay tight to the driver's side. Now, I'm not saying like super tight, not like this much, but I mean like a good 8 to 12 inches from the cones, and that way you're not going to hit the cones when you're doing the Ohio maneuverability test. Okay. All right. Lee says, I know I do too much shoulder checking. Goose, I should keep my hand on the gear selector until student comes to a full stop. Pet peeve when they unexpectedly switch gears before the car is fully stopped. Yeah, nice. All right, Corey's put up the video for the Ohio maneuverability test. Thank you for that, Corey. Okay, Amir responded to my email. I said, if fighting a bender, that was my fault 5 days after getting my license. Definitely embarrassed by it. Have you ever seen that happen? Amir, I can give you one better than that. My cousin went for his driving test. His mom let him drive home from the driving test, and they got north of London, up where they live in Huron County, and it was snowing. I don't know the exact circumstances of the crash, but he drove into the back end of a police cruiser parked on the side of the road while he was driving in the snow on the way home from the driving test. So yes, I have heard of that happening, unfortunately. But as I said to you, any crash that you can walk away from is a good crash, and it's simply a learning experience so that you become a better, safer, smarter driver. Okay? Lumpy Gas, Minnesota test tomorrow. Good luck, my friend. All the best. Remember to breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Breathe all the way to your navel. Hold 3 seconds. That'll cause your body to relax. So good luck on your driver's test there tomorrow. Excellent. Corey's put up the video as well on how to control the gas pedal, how to control your speed, and what you need to do to have good speed management for the purposes of driving. Canadian fellow, I'm having trouble controlling my speed while driving, not speeding, but it fluctuates 5 or below or 5. Keep reminding myself to keep checking my speed and just as needed. And Canadian fellow, Corey's put up that video for you. That'll definitely help you how to control the gas pedal and your speed while you're driving. And, you know, 5 is a little bit too much. You probably want to try and get it into that 2 to 3 kilometer an hour or 2 to 3 mile an hour tolerance of up and down. Okay. Joe, I have a hard time visualizing how you could do too much shoulder checking. One of the 5 keys in the old Smith Space Station system was to get the big picture. Yes, and you can do a little bit too much. There is a little bit, you know, you're shoulder checking all the time, or you're shoulder checking in the wrong direction. You want to be, what's the word? You want to be direct in terms of what you're doing. So you want to be sure that you're checking to be able to change directions of your vehicle or prepare for the maneuver that you're going to be doing. So for example, when you're reversing, you want to do a 360-degree check around the vehicle. So you check to the front, both sides, and then check out the back to make sure that there aren't any other road users around you or, you know, in the path of travel where you're going and whatnot. So yes, you do want to get that big picture, but big picture is almost a little bit too much information. You want to be very, I'm trying to think of the word, but it's escaping me right now, but you want to be very purposeful in what you're doing and where you're looking for the purposes of collecting the right information so that you're not just kind of willy-nilly all over the place, shoulder checking and looking and whatnot. Okay. Jim, hey Rick, how do I control my speed making a left or right turn? So Jim, you want to get to the speed before you start that maneuver. So if you're making a right turn, on most right turns, it's going to be kind of 8 to 12 miles an hour. You want to get down to 8 to 12 miles an hour before you start doing the right-hand turn, because you don't want to be trying to control your speed at the same time that you're making the turn. What I mean by that is you don't want to be braking and steering at the same time. And if you do that in the winter time when there's snow and ice on the roads, you're going to get into trouble, because one of the first lessons, deliberate, excellent, thank you Tim, that is the word I was looking for. You want to be deliberate in what you're doing and collecting information in the direction that you're moving the vehicle. That is exactly the word that I was looking for, thank you. So, I lost my train of thought. Right, speed control, braking, and steering. So for turning, you want to get your speed first, and then you want to execute the turn. Because in the wintertime on snow and ice, as I was saying, is if you're trying to steer and you're trying to brake at the same time, what you're going to find is the vehicle's just going to go in a straight line if you're on snow and ice. So it has to be 2 separate actions. You want to get speed control first, and then you want to do the steering. And when you're halfway through the turn, then you start to accelerate and you want to look in the direction you want to go, and you want to accelerate to highway speed or the posted speed limit as quickly as possible. All right, Sean, love your content. Your videos helped me. I got my G2 from months ago. No one should give up. 3 tries. Sean, congratulations, and congratulations on your tenacity. Thank you for coming back and letting us know that you passed. That is an inspiration to other smart drivers. Thank you so much. And awesome, awesome. What did you do to celebrate after you passed on the 3rd try? I'm sure you were ecstatic, my friend. Awesome. Joe, context-sensitive, big-picture awareness might be the best and safest way to think about it. Deliberate is another excellent way to think about it. Yes. Context-sensitive. Yes. I need to think about that a little bit more, Joe. Because, yes, you definitely want to have 360-degree awareness around your vehicle. Space management, most of the time, if you're managing space around your vehicle, that means that you're aware. So I think that before big picture, space management is more important, because if you're managing space well around your vehicle, you're more aware of what's going on in the driving environment in and around your vehicle. And it comes back to what we were talking about with driving examiners. Due care and control of your vehicle in changing traffic conditions. That's what you're doing. Moline, should you use your mirrors or turn your head while reversing into a spot on the driver's test? What you should do and what you have to do for the purposes of the driver's test, before reversing, 360-degree scan around your vehicle. So front, sides, reverse, check your mirrors, check your backup camera if you have one on your vehicle, and then you put your hand on the back of the passenger seat because you need to turn your hips to be able to look out the rear window. Now, I know with some bigger vehicles and vans and those types of things, you can't really see out the back, but you kind of got to fake it for the purposes of a driver's test. But you still want to be looking out the back window to be successful on your driver's test. All right. Canadian fellow, some side streets near me, the speed limit is 50. Lots of kids in busy side streets. I think it's a bit too fast for that street. And yes, Canadian fellow, you're correct, and you do not have to do the speed limit if there is reasons for you to go a little bit slower, 45 or 40. But you don't want to go too slow because you're going to get dinged for that. And if you look at the video on the mock driver's test that I did, and I'm in residential areas, I'm rarely getting up to 30 miles an hour, 50 kilometers an hour. And the reason for that is because there's cars parked on both sides, space is limited and whatnot. And if those are the conditions in which you're driving, then that's what you can do, is you can drive a little bit slower. But again, not too slow for the purposes of your driver's test, all right? EL, I failed G 3 times. I'm almost 40, and I feel defeated. My issue is that they say I don't look enough. Is it too late for me to be a successful driver? EL, absolutely not. You can do it, my friend. You can be a successful driver. Observation. Have a look at that video that Corey put up back near the beginning of the live stream. You just need to learn how to shoulder check correctly. You need to be deliberate in your observations and know where to look when you're driving the car, and you just need to move your head more. Age has nothing to do with it, my friend. You can learn how to drive and be a safe and smart driver, okay? So don't give up. Don't give up. You can do it. And I'll tell you a story why. Last week, I'm working on the book, and as anybody who's done some writing knows that books are a lot of work, and it's like fingernails on a chalkboard when somebody says, oh, I wrote a book in a weekend. Me and my brother, we wrote a book in a weekend. And I'm just like, oh my God, how could you possibly write a book in the weekend? Or my favorite one of late, you can take your videos and then just make it into a book, and you don't have to do any editing or anything. You just take the closed captions from your videos. Well, that's not possible. So it's been very busy. And last week, of course, I'm busy. I'm trying to do the shorts because, as you know, I'm doing the video shorts every day, posting them. And I was thinking to myself, this video short thing just isn't working, because on YouTube, they're getting like 1,000, maybe 2,000 views a day. And I'm thinking, and then they just die. Same thing with TikTok. They were going along. I had a few videos that got, 20, 30,000 views. They were doing all right. And then last week on Thursday, put a video up. You may or may not have seen the video short. Corey will put it up here in the comments on highway clusters. Okay. Highway clusters, didn't do anything on YouTube. I think it got 1,500 views maybe. But on TikTok, that video got 450,000 views in 48 hours. 450,000 views in 48 hours. So don't give up, my friends, because it's going to happen. You're going to get your driver's license, okay? It's going to happen. The power of one more. So, I retract my statement last year, the year before that, when I said that TikTok probably wasn't going to be around after 3 or 4 years. Well, it's working for me. So, there we go. So, if I can do one, I can do another one. Okay? Excellent. Do more videos. Yes, we're doing more videos. Michael, wanting to return to Canada, have been driving heavy-duty vehicles, all sorts, for 40 years. What do I need to do to drive container trucks in Canada? Michael, first and foremost, you need to get a work visa to be in Canada. That's your first step, so you got to work on that. Okay. Goose, I'm lucky if I get any views on my channel. Well, you'll need to send me the link, Goose, and I'll come over and have a look for you, okay? Leave your comments. All right. Richie, your videos helped me tons while driving. I was 29 when I got my N3 weeks ago. Drove the highway to Prince George for the first time, and there was some craziness on today. Awesome. Congratulations, Richie, and I'm so glad that we could help you out. Thanks for stopping back and letting us know. Sean, I started driving when I was 25. I'm 28, May 25th. Sometimes people get started late, and they do, and that is more the norm. It's not the exception. It's more kind of the norm that people are getting their license when they're older, especially if you're living in big cities and, part of the GDL program, the graduated driver's licensing now. Because there's so much red tape to go through. It's just postponing when people are getting their licenses. So people tend to be in their late teens, early 20s when they're getting their driver's license now. So, if you're in your late 20s, 30s, 40s, good on you. Congratulations on working towards getting your license. That is awesome. Awesome, awesome. Lee, I don't know if I do hand over hand turning, but I watch it in the video tests. Are they going to be picky about that? Lee, no, they're not. Most places are hand over hand for the purposes of a driver's test. There are a few select, in Europe and whatnot, where it's hand to hand, but not very often. Most of the time, it's hand over hand. Sean, big sense of relief, very happy, celebrated with a nap, couldn't sleep much the night before my test. I always get excited. You're not alone, Sean, that's for sure. Lots of people can't sleep the night before their test. It is very, very exciting. So that's really awesome. Congratulations, my friend. And pass your driver's test first time course package, guaranteed to pass your driver's test first time, on sale over at the Smart Drive Test website. Use the coupon code SMART30. You'll get 30% off the $37.97 US price. And as well as a bonus, we throw in both the winter and defensive driving courses, and that'll keep you safe in inclement weather, even if you don't get snow. The thunderstorms and all the craziness that's going on in Ontario and other places. In Tornado Alley, which runs up from Texas and through Oklahoma and into Ontario, that will help you out in those inclement weather. So check that out over at the Smart Drive Test website. Jeff, hey, I'm taking my driver's test tomorrow, first time. What is the best piece of advice that you have for me? Jeff, breathe. When you show up for your driver's test, breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. That'll cause your body to relax. Now, in preparation for that, make sure that you do a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle, or ask the driving instructor if he or she did one on their vehicle, because you don't want to be denied your driver's test due to the fact that something goofy is not working, like a brake light for whatnot, and it only takes about 10 minutes to change a brake light out. So do a pre-trip inspection. Make sure that you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. Make sure your vehicle's clean if you're taking your own vehicle, especially in these days of post-COVID. And shoulder checking. Make sure you shoulder check for your driver's test, okay? And unless signs prohibit it, when you show up at the test center, back into the parking space, okay? And that way it's going to be nice and easy. When you pull out left or right, whichever way the examiner tells you to go, be sure that you signal when you drive out of the parking space, okay? Ollie, I have my test Thursday in New York, in the Bronx. Wish me luck. It will be raining that day. Can you give me advice, please? Yes, the same advice that I just gave there, Allie, and as well, Sam is here. Sam is also in the Bronx, and he's a driving instructor there, and he can give you some advice as well. Sam, I think it's silly when people say you got a license so late. I got my license at 19 and was picked on for a while by people I knew who had it much younger. Age, don't let age bother you. Even 19, I would argue, is the average age of getting your driver's license now, Sam. That's funny. Michael, you're Canadian. Okay, Richie, when I passed, I was shaking because I was in shock. They passed me. That's awesome. Goose, I slept maybe 2 hours the night before I went for my G2 exit test to get my driving instructor's license, even after 30-some years of no accidents. And yes, because those driving instructor's license tests, there's a lot to them. You got to do all the maneuvers and have a running commentary and those types of things. Yes. Amir, Rick, is there anything that we can do to help with fear of driving on the interstates? For me, the high speeds scare me. I've only driven on the interstates like 3 times. Yes, go with somebody that you trust who is a veteran driver, and as well, manage space around your vehicle. Make sure you have that 3 to 4 second following distance, and you should just be using the throttle to control space in front of your vehicle. Okay, so you have lots of space and you just let off the throttle, something happens in front of you in the driving environment. But go with somebody that you trust. If you have a lot of fear around it, then maybe you might even want to hire a driving instructor to go out and help you and work on your driving on interstates and freeways and those types of things, because it's really great. Once you get comfortable driving on highways and interstates, then it's just going to be such an awesome experience. Crystal, my friend, how are you? I am awesome. I'm doing well. What happens if the car has squeaky brakes and makes a grinding noise? Crystal, I would suggest you take it into your technician and get him or her to check your brakes. All right? That's awesome. Thank you so much. That was just an awesome live stream. Lots of great questions. If we didn't get to your questions because it's been really busy tonight, leave a comment down in the comment section there. If you're watching on the replay, leave us a comment. We'll try and answer your questions the best we can. Lots of people now. TikTok has found us. But we'll do what we can to help you out and pass your driver's test first time. And if you have passed your driver's test in the last couple of weeks, congratulations. If you have a test coming up this week, good luck on that. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.